was a twisted, sadistic shithead who deserved it.
Like you.
Yes, just like me. Murdering me was as poetic as justice ever gets.
After wrapping up with Jessica Jones Season 2, I'm not really sure what to think. I enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, very much so, and where Season 2 was good, at times it just didn't feel quite right. It was a tale of 3 parts for me. It started out a tad slow, but I thought it was fine. The midpoint of the story gets intensive, which I felt was the strongest part, but towards the tail end, some bits were sloppy, confusing, and downright bizarre. Now, Jessica Jones's debut season was fantastic. It was mostly due to the incredible role that David Tennant's Kilgrave played, and with the departure of such a standout villain following his death, how would season 2 be able to fill that void? Well, by kinda not having a villain this year. I'll explain more in a moment, but Jessica Jones focused more of its second run on exploring the depths of its side characters. Trish, Malcolm, Jerry, all of which had extensive subplots running alongside Jessica's investigation into IGH. Now, IGH are an illegal genetic research facility which focused on human experimentation. They are the ones who made Jessica the way she is, and also the ones who saved her from certain death. And I'll give this season some credit in terms of twists and turns because they occurred on a regular basis and some surprised the hell out of me. When this season started, I thought that Simpson would have played a key role, but I got a heck of a shock when Simpson, who was trying to protect Trish at the time, met a sudden end by unceremoniously having his neck near snapped in two. I wasn't expecting that at all, and from that point on, Trish became, I kid you not, the most insufferable, annoying, jealous, manipulative character in the entire Marvel Netflix universe. Every single decision she made was selfish, hurtful to those around her, she was the worst. She continued to take that combat enhancer inhaler in an attempt to be more like Jessica, and hurt Malcolm time and time again to further her endeavour. That is my Trish talk for the day. I'm going to leave it there. But her last scene of the season did hint that her reactions or reflexes as such could have been affected by Carl's procedure. Food for thought. Now, honestly, in the beginning, I didn't care very much for Jerry's storyline, but the more it went on, the more it did grow on me. She took her authority back, and not just in her life. She made sure those who tried to con her paid the price for it, and went forward with a new outlook to life. Carrie-Anne Moss again delivers a powerful performance, and it pleased me in the end to see her regain control of herself and of her situation. Now, Jessica's investigation into IGH revealed that her mother Alyssa was actually alive, had undergone similar experiments that gave her powers much like her daughter, but there was a catch. She was dangerously unstable. Any threats remotely personal to her, her family, or Carl, the lead doctor at IGH who she was having a relationship with, would set her off immediately, and once that happened, calming her down is somewhat near impossible. Flipping back to Jessica, Kristen Ritter is and always will be the highlight of this show. Her dry, uncaring attitude is far apart from your standard heroines, and she is the reason why this character is so successful. Her mind games and revenge against Kilgrave was what propelled the first season, and their battle with one another was what the first year was all about, whereas season 2 tries to make it a much more personal journey. That's why I said this year doesn't really have a main villain. Yes, Alyssa could be classified as that, but after thinking her mother had been dead for the past 17 years, it rendered her useless in trying to stop her. Even after she learnt Alyssa had killed poor Sterling, her former boyfriend, snapped Simpson's neck, brutally tore one man to shreds, and then tried to kill her best friend and sister Trish, still she couldn't follow through. It was her own mother and she couldn't muster what was needed to try and stop her. Now, like I said, towards the tail end of the season, Jessica's decision making went completely out the window, and I didn't feel like the continuous attempts at redemption for Alyssa were warranted. And yes, we're talking about Jessica Jones, but even for her, some of her choices were totally out of character. And to have it all end as a Super Trish no-scoped Alyssa in the back of the head from quite a distance off, yeah, it wasn't the best way to have the second season end on.
That is not an option. Not with the gifts we have. If you say with great power comes great responsibility, I swear I'll throw up on you.
My overall verdict for Jessica Jones Season 2 is a 7 out of 10. While making it a more personal journey, Season 2 suffers from the lack of a real villain. It was a very different season when compared to the first. This one was more of a conspiracy uncovering truths and past events, whereas Season 1 was all about Kilgrave and him tormenting Jessica. They were never going to top Kilgrave's big bad, not this soon anyway, and Alyssa was not the answer to that. It was an interesting swerve to see Jessica's mother return and to have even stronger abilities than her, but the surprise factor was quickly forgotten about. Janet McTeer though does look the part. She played her traumatised and unstable role very well, especially when she was first introduced, and her bursting into a fit of rage and making a path of destruction in her wake were some of the better moments for her character. Carl's role too was a highlight of mine. He looked like he genuinely wanted to help people even though he knew what he was doing was unethical and was extremely dangerous. Any of his so-called experiments could have killed him, even Alyssa, so to that extent he was actually a better villain through and through because he believed in what he was doing than Alyssa ever could have been. I wonder what you all think of that one. As I've mentioned, Trish was the lowest of lows that this season had to offer. Malcolm, you could kind of understand his decisions at times, but he even grew to irritate me towards the end. Him being coerced by Trish time after time and then joining that scumbag Price at the end. Like, what the fuck? He nearly killed Jessica though, she probably hasn't told him yet, but really, you're gonna jump ship to him who only 4 or 5 episodes back you couldn't stand to be around and knew that he was trying to manipulate you? Okay. Whatever. Now, I've not spoken about Oscar, the new super in the building, and his material with Jessica, which was quite enjoyable. You knew he'd come around from his hostility at first, and then you just knew after he did that they'd become an item over the course of the season. I liked it, the pair had chemistry together. He was a welcome addition to this season, and someone who I hope to see more of in Season 3. And, side point to mention, David Tennant's one-off episode was a delight. Any surprises there? It was probably the best episode of the year, and I'm just so glad they could get him back, even if it was just for one episode. If they want to make that like an annual thing, I wouldn't be against that idea. The second season of Jessica Jones was good, whereas not quite up to the standards of the first, it did have some high points as well as some mightily low ones. It had a strange feeling throughout the course of the season, and in terms of storytelling, where Season 3 will go, I have no idea. The only insight I have is it seems Trish is beginning to develop some powers, so she might finally get her wish in being more like Jessica. But for Jessica herself, it looks like she's to start anew. So what did you all think of Jessica Jones Season 2? Do you agree with me that this season felt somewhat strange? And what was your verdict of the mother-daughter dynamic that this season went with? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed the review. And I'll see you on the next one.
She's a complete hypocrite. You can't trust anyone except me. Hiding behind that self-righteous do-gooder crap. What else has the greedy little user been lying about? Find her and punch her in that perky blonde hair.
Jessica!